Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on nectar of instruction, today we are starting new verse number 8. Tannam Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanan Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyogya Tishtan Vraje Tadanuragi Jananugami Kalam Nae Dakilam Niti Upadesha Saram. So, iti upadesha saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braj, Golok Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So in the previous verse, although Krishna's name, form, pastimes, qualities are very sweet, but we don't relish that nectar because of ignorance. Now, if we go beyond that, now we have removed that ignorance, we are tasting the nectar, then what happens? Then Rupa Goswami is saying, the essence of all advice, everything, now it boils down to just remember 24 hours a day. Remember Krishna would spend their time nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastime. And in this way, we should reside in Golok, in Vraj, or Golok Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna with the guidance of devotees. So this is the essence. Ultimately, this is what we are supposed to do. But before going to the purport, now I know it's a topic of nectar of devotion, not a nectar of instruction, but these, well, bhakti is everywhere in all the books, but explained in detail, very deeply in nectar of devotion. So there are 3 stages of bhakti: Vaidhi bhakti, Bhav bhakti, Prem bhakti. I'm sorry, Sadhana bhakti, Bhav bhakti, Prem bhakti. And in sadhana bhakti, there are 2 divisions: Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So Vaidhi means following the rules and regulations, following the Vidhi Vidhan. Now, following as a matter of duty, but still doing. And Raganuga means spontaneously. Nobody has to tell us to do it. We do it out of love, out of some attachment. Love is Prem Bhakti. So in Sadhana Bhakti, which is Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Now, so far what we had studied, ultimate verse number 7 was Vaidhi Bhakti. Now this verse comes under Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Now what is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? One still follows the rules and regulations, but out of his spontaneous attachment for Krishna. And here, as said in the shloka, one should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. And that's a key thing here. So one should kalam naed akilam iti. Okay. Tishtan vraje tad anuragi jananugami. So live in Braj and follow and serve Krishna to the guidance devotees and one should follow in the footsteps of Lord's beloved devotees. Now, the Lord's beloved devotees, Krishna's associates in Golok Vrindavan Dham, they are called Ragatmika devotees. They're not Raga Nuga because they are Nitya Siddha, so they are Ragatmika. They're serving Krishna with lots of rag, and it's their internal situation. It's their situation, Ragatmika. So following their footsteps, or following their example, when we serve the Lord, try to serve the Lord. We call it Rag Anuga. Anuga means followers. That's why Rupa Goswami says, one should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees. So we should follow. Means now we are beyond the Vedis. We are at the stage of Raga Anuga. Now, how to develop this? How will Bhakti Rasamrit Sandhu Nectar devotion goes in detail of all these steps. And actually, I'm not qualified for speaking on that book, but whenever we get a chance, we will discuss that. So now keep in mind, now this shloka, now we are getting into Raganuga Bhakti, that is spontaneous, loving devotion. Now, another place it is said, it could be difference in opinion of different acharyas. Some say from Vedi Bhakti we graduate into or we advance into Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And some say no. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is different because following Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, one can go to Vaikuntha Loka. But following Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, one becomes eligible to go to Braj, Golok Vrindavan. So, but how do we get to Raganuga Sadhana? That, okay, so as I said, that we'll discuss when we come to Nectar of Devotion. So this verse, as I said, it belongs at that stage. Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for training the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. This is the mind, because mind, intelligence, false ego, the subtle body goes with the soul to the new body. So same mind is there, but it's just Krishna's mercy that we don't remember anything from a previous life, or we don't even remember from this lifetime also what we did last week, 2 weeks back, month back, 6 months ago. We don't remember because Krishna removes that memory, but it's there in the mind. It just we cannot access those minds. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions. So those impressions are actually called sanskars. And they are there. Some could be deep sanskars, some could be just shallow, superficial sanskars. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's function can become dangerous for a conditioned soul. Can become dangerous if the mind is not in control. Prabhupada says students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. Mind is very, very difficult thing to understand and definitely very, very difficult to control. And then on top of it, we have so many sanskars, impressions. The sanskar or impression is what? If it is a deep sanskar, a deep impression in the mind, then a person, even though he doesn't want to, just like if I have an impression of a sanskar of drinking liquor, whether I want to or not, whether I know it's bad for me, I'll still be drawn towards drinking. As soon as I pass by some liquor store or a party where people are drinking or a bar, I'll just automatically go in because I have so much of sanskaras in my consciousness, in my mind for that drinking. Or some could have sanskar for smoking or for something else. And how do these sanskar develop? We create those by our activities, by our thinking about those things. Originally, everybody has a clean slate. But we've been here in the material world for millions and millions of lifetimes. So we have created those sanskars. And then, as Prabhupada, these impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. So someday, well, we have created the sanskar of drinking, suppose, and then we have created the sanskar of, say, going to the temple or church. Now, they could be contradictory. On a certain day, suppose Tuesday, we want to go to temple, but I really have craving for drinking, and then there could be contradiction, and then we go crazy. These are just two examples I'm giving. There will be unlimited number of examples of sanskaras. And this is where the students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. But Bhagavad Gita, then what it says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante talevara tam tamiveti kaunteya sadatat bhavam. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So whatever state of being one remembers, so this remembrance at the time of death is not just a passing thought we are talking. Just like we are doing so many things and so many thoughts come to our mind and keep on going back. No, not a passing thought. It's a wherever our deep consciousness is, deep state of consciousness or deep sanskar is, that state he will attain without. So throughout our life, whatever we have done, we have developed that kind of consciousness. And then at the time of death, we'll get a new body according to that consciousness. The Prabhupada says, at the time of death, the mind and intelligence of a living entity create the subtle form of a certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. So this, as the Prabhupada suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, but that consciousness has been developed throughout this lifetime. Bharat did not, Bharat Maharaj did not attain the body of a deer just at the time of death, because for so many years or so many months, he had been taking care of that deer. He had been constantly thinking of that deer. When he would sit in meditation, he would think of the deer, the baby deer, or whether the baby deer has eaten something, whether he's in trouble, whether some other animal is going to eat him up, or whether he's gone deep into the forest. Where is he? Where is he? So he was always thinking of that deer. So whatever we're going to think of further, so deeply, and that too towards the end of our life, that definitely going to be the thought at the time of death. So on the other hand, So one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Golok, Vrindavan. If one can think of Krishna at the time of death. So can we just think of Krishna at the time of death if we have not practiced it throughout our life? Is it so easy? No. And Krishna, what he does, he gives us unit tests before the final exam. And what will be the unit test? So what did we think of? What is the first word comes out of a mouth? Then if something wrong happens, somebody hits our car, or somebody comes and hits us, or our foot just bangs on the leg of a table, what's the first thing that is going to come out of our mouth? If it is Krishna, if it is Hare Krishna, or any other name of Krishna or Radharani, then we are making some progress. Otherwise, we have to work a little more. That's all. And that is where the practice comes in. And the practice is not just mechanical practice, mechanical chanting, mechanical way of it. If our heart is not in that, then definitely we'll not remember that. Where our heart is, just like lovers, two lovers, if they are really in love, then they'll constantly think of each other 24 hours a day. Nobody has to remind them. So that kind of love we have to develop for Krishna. Mother is always thinking of her child, always. Anything she sees, she is at home, child is in the school, and she sees child's shoes or the clothes, and then she will get into, oh, this shoe I bought for him or her from there, and this and that. All her thoughts will revolve around that child because she loves that child. Now, for mother and child, that relationship is only for one lifetime. Our eternal relationship is with Krishna. Of course, we have forgotten it, and Maya doesn't help us either. But this is where, because now through scriptures we have understood, so we have to think of Krishna. And this is, it says that this is the essence of all the advice. Constantly, always think of Krishna. And that will come when we actively participate in chanting attentively, serving him every day without fail. That's why making a schedule helps. With time, okay, this time I'm going to sit down and chant, no matter what. Because mind, ultimately, we have to control the mind. We have to let the mind know I am the boss, means the soul is the boss. Soul is above the mind, and soul is spiritual, mind is material. But we have to control, we have to train our mind that way. So Prabhupada says, on the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. When can death come? We read about Parikshit Maharaj. He had only 7 days left, and he spent his time only hearing about Krishna. And if this was his question, what should a person who is about to die, what should he do? what is most essential duty for him. So 7 days, 7 nights, he didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't even get up, didn't even move from his place, and he just listened to Bhagavad. We don't have that kind of stamina. But we have to do our best. So training, practice, training. Train to see only Krishna, train to chant only Krishna's name, train to think of only Krishna. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna Prasad. Srila Rupa Goswami further advises, Tishtan Braje. Tishtan Braje. Very, very important. One should live in Vrindavan or any part of Vrajabhumi. Vrajabhumi, or the land of Vrindavan, is supposed to be 84 koshas in area. 1 kosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. Why live in Vrindavan? Of course, Prabhupada says, wherever you're chanting, that is Vrindavan. So when he came to America, he named different places, New Vrindavan, and New Brajdham, New this, New that. Of course, that is not different from Vrindavan. So any place where Krishna's name is being chanted, Krishna's service is being done, not different from Vrindavan. No doubt about it. But at the same time, Brajbhumi is Brajbhumi. That's a place of Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. It's not Tirtha. Tirtha is different from Dham. Dham is his own house, own home. And there's a beautiful story of Prayagraj. See, Narad Muni always tries to glorify Krishna, Krishna's bhakti, Krishna's places where he has performed his pastime. So once he told Prayagraj that you should call all the tirthas in the world, come for assembly, and you are the king of tirtha, you are Tirtharaj. And Prayagraj got little proud of himself, so he called all the tirthas. But Braj didn't come. Personified Braj did not come. So Narad Muni went to Prayagraj. See, everybody came, but Braj didn't come. He doesn't think you are greater than him. Go ask him. Now ask Krishna, what is this? You made me Tirtharaj. So he went to ask Krishna, what is this? Braj didn't come? He's insulting me. Krishna said, I made you king of all the tirthas, but not king of my house. Braj is my home. He doesn't come under you. Tirth is a pure place, holy place, but not home of Krishna. Just like Jagannath Puri Dham, Ayodhya Dham, these are Dham, not Tirtha. Dwarka Dham. So in Braj, of course, Braj has its own significance. It's the home of Krishna. And actually, when we go to Braj or Vrindavan, we have our experience. You sit there, any place in Braj, and try to chant. It's so amazing. So natural flow of chanting, one's concentration is great. The sand, the dhuli of Braj, there's no comparison to it. Brajvasis, we can serve Brajvasis or Brajdham. So that, what does it do? It helps us concentrate on Krishna, think of Krishna constantly, and also, obviously, if somebody leaves his body in Brajdham, then no matter where he was born before, he goes back to Godhead, straight. So these instructions are very, very important and very powerful instructions. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. Prabhuji, one thing, chanting. So, Prabhuji, sometimes it's like my experience that chanting on beats may not sound, I am so fallen that I don't have any interest in chanting the names. I just chant it because it's the duty. I have to complete my rounds. Otherwise, I don't have that interest. But when it comes to I'm doing something, then because of the chanting on the beads, I think, or I don't know why, the name comes out. Okay, means even if or when I am very conscious और मतलब कुछ बहुत ध्यान से करना है, तो हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वो होने लगता है, पर वो इंटरेस्ट नहीं है चैंटिंग में, तो क्या करना चाहिए प्रभु?
Well, you said sometimes, so you're very lucky. It happens sometimes.
हाँ मतलब मतलब थोड़ा
Most of
बहुत
the time, yeah. but whether we like it or not, like Prithu Maharaj, your son, I mean, does he like to go to school every day?
no.
You send him, right?
Yeah,
Still, you send him, force
yeah,
him to go.
yeah.
So our mind is also like a baby. We have to force it. And slowly, 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 he will go and he will love it and he won't even, sometimes they don't even want to come home. They want to play over there with their friends.
Okay.
So that's what it is. Mind will play its game, but we have to force it. Chant. This is a time for chanting. That's it. Nothing else.
Mm. Yes, Prabhuji. So sometimes when what happened that हम चैंटिंग कर रहे होते हैं तो चैंटिंग के वक्त तो डिस्ट्रैक्शन नहीं चाहिए, बट अगर माइंड को मतलब चैंटिंग पे फोकस करने के लिए अगर हमने कोई ऐसे लेक्चर लगा दिया और इधर चैंटिंग भी कर रहे हैं, तो दैट कि अगर माइंड डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो तो उस साइड ही डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो, तो वो तो गलत होगा ना फिर.
Lecture nahi, because then you're not concentrating either on the lecture or on chanting. Before chanting, you can hear any lecture, so that you can focus. But during chanting, I used to put on purpose chanting, japate.
हाँ, yes.
That is different. And there are many books. Different devotees have written different books about art of chanting that helps. So that
Yes,
you can follow. And sometimes we loudly chant, sometimes we chant softly. It depends, whatever works for you, that you have to see.
yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, there was one book from Mahabhagavat, Prabhuji, on the chanting actually. That was a very good book actually. So I
Yeah,
have.
many devotees have written, Mahanidhi Maharaj, Sachinandan Maharaj, Brijan Prabhu. There have been seminars on chanting, Mahatma Prabhu conducts seminars. So many. It's just for us to understand the glories of holy name, importance of attentive chanting, and then get into chanting.
क्या होता है प्रभु जी, ये कन्विंस है कि ये चैंटिंग है जो सब कुछ हेल्प करेगा, बिकॉज व्हेन आई हैव सीन दैट कि अगर एक बार में 16 राउंड्स या जब अच्छे से चैंटिंग्स होती है तो हम हर काम में बहुत फोकस्ड और एकदम डिस्ट्रैक्शन खत्म हो जाता है. बट अगर हम चैंटिंग नहीं कर रहे होते, ठीक से नहीं हो रही होती है चैंटिंग, तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती है. मतलब हर कोई भी चीज में हर बहुत चिक 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 होता है. ये मैंने जो चीजें ऑब्जर्व की हुई है, पर
Yeah.
पता नहीं क्यों होता नहीं है.
So just put on proper japa tape, that sit properly tape and chant.
Prabhuji, Does yoga, doing say 10 minutes of breathing meditational exercise before chanting, will help build the concentration or improve others? It will not perfect it,
No,
but it will.
see, yoga abhyas is for different purpose. Chanting is different.
No, I'm just talking
Meditation,
about the attention part, like the keep being able to focus, just that part.
there's no mention, and devotees generally don't perform this. I mean, it's good for meditation, or if somebody wants good health, yoga abhyas is good for that. But chanting, as Mahaprabhu said, niyamita smaranena kala, there is no rules, there is no prerequisites, just chant. So, if it can help, I mean, if somebody is used to doing yoga before chanting, that's up to him. But it's nowhere mentioned here by Prabhupada. So another thing is just study about the glories of holy name. Try to keep some passage that you studied, think of it, or think of the so many pictures of Krishna, their forms of Krishna. Chant. Focus should be on chanting, attentive, listening to what we are chanting. And with the mood that Krishna, I am your servant. Radharani, please engage me in your service. Chanting is the most important service. Try to do nicely. Is that okay?
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you.
Ji, Dhanavad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
See you
Hare
all have a
Krishna.
safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.